British Columbia's petroleum resources lay dormant, locked under thousands of feet of rock until 1947. The story to date, 370 oil wells and 421 natural gas wells in production or capable of production. Largely responsible for this rapid development is the pipeline complex, funneling oil and gas from the fields in the north to the main markets on the Pacific coast. Naturally fertile, black, loamy soil, the ease of clearing land and tilling have been factors favoring growing farm settlement in the Peace River. Main artery of commerce in the North Peace is the Alaska Highway, which begins at Dawson Creek, BC, mile 0. Fort St. John is at mile 47. It was completed as a military highway in October 1942. It twists and turns through BC and the Yukon Territory, 1,527 miles to Fairbanks, Alaska.
It's progressed considerably since it was first discovered in 1793, when Sir Alexander Mackenzie stopped overnight on his way to the Pacific. Today we have about 6,500 people, and there's something about the town that's probably common to all northern communities. People are friendly to you on the street, and they're very friendly to you in their homes. We have that newfangled plumbing up here in Fort St. John, which is a vast improvement over the mail-order catalog type that we've had for many years. Wooden sidewalks have been replaced by cement sidewalks, and we have fluoridated water. We have a booming economy, a very alert radio station, and all in all, Fort St. John is a terrific town.
Well, we wanted to roll the map back. We were in Shanghai in 1937 when the war started, and then comes Pearl Harbor, and the Americans decide to build this Alaska Highway, the Inland Corridor. It was a great thing for Canada. We wanted to get up there and do something about it. We knew that when the war was over, this highway would go back to a trapper's trail. So we moved the newspaper from Squamish to Fort St. John. We went in and we worked hard. We really got lots of things done. We worked like hell, as a matter of fact. Made lots of enemies. We were getting old. Well, we were getting so old we were creaking almost. The youngsters by this time had grown up. They were dry behind the ears. We thought, well, we'd give it to them, but we made them pay 10 cents on the dollar for it. The Alaska Highway has gone ahead by leaps and bounds, and it has brought $1 billion worth of new wealth to Canada.
The Alaska Highway News is the watchdog of the North Peace. Now, we're quick to criticize in our editorials, and we're quick to give praise. We pull no punches. We're not interested in anything that happens outside the North Peace unless it concerns a North Peace person, and then it's right in here. The columns of our paper are open to any comments. We'll print any letter we can get to the editor, providing we can read it. And we feel that this country has only one way to go, and that's up, and we're with it. One of our feature writers here on the news is Jan Gould. Jan is a newcomer here to the Peace, and I feel that she's having a romance with this great North Country. Surprisingly enough, she's digging out some very good historical stories that we've been tripping over for 20 years.
I always ask readers to send suggestions for the historical column I write, and one of the letters I received was from a local resident, George Hebert, who suggested I look up an old homestead located at Goodloe, which is 38 miles east of Fort St. John. When Klondikers were seeking an overland route from Edmonton to the Yukon via the Peace River country, they crossed over this property. The first homesteader on the 5 quarter sections of land was a William Graham. It isn't known when he settled there, but it is known that he died in 1920 following an accident he suffered while trying to build a bridge over Moose Creek. His grave can be found beside the main building. Following this, the next settlers were Jim Good and the Love family, who came from southern Alberta in 1923. and immediately began to add to the 2 buildings situated there. By 1926, they had 95 head of cattle and had put up their first hay. In the old buildings were trunks containing records dating back to the 1880s. We looked through them carefully, finding articles that had been cherished by the homesteaders, finding family photographs. I found some bright red silk garters that made me think of the romance of the past, of the gay gold rush dance days. We found valuable books and firearms, and these findings have prompted a local interest in establishing a museum so that everyone can share the history of the area.
We have about 15 country correspondents, and these people are the backbone of the Country Weekly. They seem to find time between milking cows or putting up sauerkraut to write us a column every week, and these columns are exceptionally well read. People just love to see their names in the paper, providing it isn't in the police court, of course. All the Murrays seem to get into the act on the news. And my wife, Kathy, writes a column every week called About Town. And in that, she covers the gardens and the new houses and new parties and things. And as a matter of fact, she even supervises the sidewalk superintendents.
Between the dishes and the general housework and the meals, the various activities around the home, I gather my news mostly by phone. I like to think of my column as not a gossip column, but a weekly vignette of the town and its development of the gardens and the new houses and the buildings, the new lawns, and the various activities that I think those in the town are interested in knowing, and those who have left our town are interested in reading.
My sister Georgina is the police court reporter, and quite often she has to answer the magistrate's telephone when they're very busy, and then has to go outside into the corridor and pick up the story from the lawyer.
I didn't, he didn't, so anyways, I think, if you could,
Well,
if
after
you
all,
could...
I think we get a jaywalking out of it.
I would say you shouldn't...
Say, Calvin, what was all that in aid of about the 10-ton overload? You know, the phone rang just then, and I missed it. That was a real good point about the 40,000-pound slush pump, because, of course, naturally, you couldn't cut it in two to lighten the load, but what I really didn't get was this double charge system on the highway. I'm not a bit clear about that. So?
Well, Georgina, when the oil field truckers come in off the bush roads...
Police court reporting in the Alaska Highway News is a very important part of our work. Readers find it very interesting, of course, and because of the booming economy of the town, there's lots of activity every morning at 10 o'clock in the courthouse. Georgina, who is a very gregarious type, writes these items exceptionally well, but sometimes we have to put our foot down and make sure that the man's name goes in as it appeared on the police blotter. We find that we get excellent cooperation from the RCMP, who find that our publicity to the police court activities makes their job considerably easier.
Senior government, then, is the...
Senior government is still senior,
see.
yes, that is true.
Such attention they give us.
Yes.
Georgina has found time between police reporting and looking after her family to write this rollicking book, Muskeg Maze, which is a story about the early homesteaders here in the North Peace. We printed it here in Fort St. John. Of course, we've done lots of catalogs and other things, but this is the first long-haired effort we made. Mary Humphreys is our associate editor, and she's been with us about 3 years. She farms with her husband out on the Hudson's Hope Road, and between milking the cows and getting in the crop, she finds time to cover the town hall, the school board, the churches, and we think she's an exceptionally fine music critic.
It's a grand night for singing, the moon is flying high, and somewhere a bird is sounding.
On this occasion, we have the Mixed Harmony Choir and the High School Choir, ably directed by Mrs. Wilfred Lambley, who has been very active in the Choral Society for the past 15 years. Well, Fort St. John is clamoring for culture, but the very nature of the hustle and bustle of our town doesn't exactly promote, top hat and tails. We had the Vancouver Symphony here, and they played the standing room only at the local auditorium. But then again, you can't expect them to, fly 1,000 miles to play a piccolo next to an oil well. We have two dramatic groups. And 15 years ago, we were famous for our drama festival, which we held every February. As many as 20 plays were produced, many of them written right here in Fort St. John, and some of them even went as far as Penticton. However, today, the group seems to have split in two, and the interest has died down, very likely to the fast economy, the quick buck, and the new people who probably the only thing they look at is a boob tube. Mary covers the city council for us and also the school board, and of course does special feature work.
I agree with him. Right now,
there's something I don't think we want.
Proper way of controlling parking is to install parking meters. We need the control and we need the revenue.
My personal thoughts are no parking meters right now.
Parking meters will never be installed in Fort St. John with my vote.
A 1 or 2 hour free parking controlled is sufficient for now and will keep all employers and employees off the street and give that much more room for customer parking.
John Quell came to us direct from Holland 12 years ago. He's our production manager and keeps the machines humming. If a part is missing, he'll make it. Saul Terry is a full-blooded Indian of the Lillooet Band, and we are teaching him to become a printer. Saul shows terrific enthusiasm, and we feel if he can become a printer, that there will be room for more Indians on the 650 weekly newspapers throughout Canada. We find that the readers, bless their little pointed heads, I guess I shouldn't say that because they're not pointed really, but it does it's annoying sometimes. When we have a very controversial issue and we write editorials about it, I kind of mosey around town and rub shoulders at the Legion and the local beer parlor and see what the people think about it. And the response, they like the paper all right, but they don't seem to get around to read the editorials. And you'll pin them right down and say, did you read this certain editorial? And they'd say, no, I didn't, Dan, but I sure got a charge out of that cartoon on page 3. Now, the dean of our country correspondence is Reginald Shaw, affectionately known as Uncle Dudley. Uncle Dudley has been with us 22 years, and this 84-year-old correspondent covers the Hudson Hope beat. To visit our correspondent at Hudson's Hope, we travel due west 60 miles, over roads that are not safe for a wheelbarrow. Uncle Dudley has been writing for us for 20 years. He came to the Peace River from England back in 1905 and has only been out of the Peace River once, and that was during World War I when he went to Edmonton to get a medical and had to snowshoe back. At 82, he's a very live cricket.
Some of them, that wheel is 5 feet high, and they're waiting for the crew to manipulate him.
The 600-foot-high Portage Mountain Dam, a 2,300,000 kilowatt power plant, a man-made lake covering 680 square miles and a 580-mile-long transmission system, combined to make the Peace River power development one of the most ambitious hydroelectric projects in the world. The dam itself will be built of 60 million cubic yards of gravel, sand, and rock, all to be moved by conveyor belt from 2 huge glacial ridges about 4 miles from the dam site. This multi-million-dollar scheme has a tough timetable. 1962, construction of diversion system to reroute river began. 1963, bids received for dam construction, and workmen will begin stripping sand, gravel, and rock for the project. 1964, main construction of dam to start. 1965, work on construction of powerhouse, penstocks, and transmission lines will begin. 1966, peak year for powerhouse, dam, and transmission lines. 1967, first electrical equipment planned for powerhouse. 1968, project scheduled completed. River dammed early in year, and huge storage reservoir, largest in western world, will begin forming behind Portage Mountain. First power generated late in the year.
There's stores and all kinds of new buildings up, and two good stores and 2 or 3 little ones, and a fancy store for, I don't know what they call that, variety store. More preachers comes up every week. The whole service in the Glen Hotel on Sunday, in the St. Peter's Church on Sunday or Monday. It's a trailer town now. Trailers everywhere. And sewerage and water established into pretty nearly everybody's home. That job is finished now.
For an old-timer story, Uncle Dudley visits Bill Carter, a one-time Royal Northwest Mountie, prospector, and trapper, And until they stopped him, the best man in town for pulling teeth.
When I come back here, I was a dentist, you know. I thought I was, and I've been used to pulling horses' teeth. Sure. I used to... Same thing. You used to get out and pull them out? Sure. I pulled one for old Nellie Barr. Yeah, I remember. And she says, what shall I get to drink? I says, go to Gregor's and get a bottle of whiskey. Give me one drink. And I pulled the tooth too soon. And she was coming down with Mrs. Getha, and she was dancing, and the whiskey had been to work. Happy, eh? And then I pulled a second tooth for her, and I was scratching her head. She says, what were you scratching my head for? I says, I was putting a little sourdough in where the tooth poked out. I was going out of the door then. She would. Eh? She would. And Mrs. Loretta pulled a tooth for her, and she put her arms around my neck. Oh, she says, you're a fine man. And 2 days after, she wouldn't speak to me. And I says, what's the matter? It appeared Jack said I said she was howling like a coyote. Yeah, Jack Lorette's wife. Hmm? Jack Lorette's wife. Yeah, he's dead now, you know. Is he? Yeah. Oh. Where would you like to die? Oh, out in the sticks. Yeah. I don't want to die here. Yeah.
There was about 700 people, natives, that really belonged there. There was about 50,000 American soldiers milling up and down. We finally got salvaged an old Washington hand press. We brought that down, rented a granary, got it, put some light in it and some juice in it to get electric light. And we started out, people didn't want a newspaper very bad. They didn't have time to read it. But the first thing you know, they was a subscribing for it and a grabbing for it every week when it come out.
We show a very good profit picture here in the Alaska Highway News. We keep a very close tab on all new developments in the graphic arts. And we watch automation very closely. We put in nice new machines. We offer our employees security. They have MSI, they have group insurance, pension plan. We have 3 salesmen in our front office who are continually shaking the bushes. We feel that competition is right around the corner, and we try to offer the very best service to our clients. Thursday afternoon, another news deadline. Some heartaches, some fun, but never, never dull. Before you get away, there's another member of the family here I'd like you to meet, and that's my boy Dan. He and 42 other boys and girls deliver the Alaska Highway News every week. They deliver about 1,000 copies a week. There's another 1,000 goes on the newsstands, and we send about 400 abroad, outside of Canada, and the balance are mailed to our rural subscribers.